We are currently in a situation in the United States where chronic disease is our number one problem. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because we already know it's true. Most of you in this room know somebody who, or it's you yourself, who've had cancer, heart disease, diabetes, autoimmune issues, eczemas, allergies, chronic sinus problems, anxiety, depression. All of these conditions are chronic diseases. It's not like a knee injury from falling off your bike. Make sense? So we're at a point where we got really good as a society at treating acute injuries and crises, but we are really bad at chronic lifestyle degenerative diseases. And the proof is in the pudding, as they say, meaning you talk to your friends, your neighbors, your family, almost everyone you know has some varying degree of some chronic lifestyle disease, right? Does anyone disagree with that? They don't know anyone that's on medications for sinuses or allergies or eczema, psoriasis, right? IBS, Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis. So what we're talking about today is how do you get to the underlying cause of these diseases and start unwinding the damage so your body can heal. So if that's why you're here, you're in the right place. And I'm hoping for most of you that you're here to prevent what could become some of these bigger, more stressful names that get associated with these diseases, meaning you may have a little bit of gassiness or constipation that can eventually become full-blown Crohn's disease, right? But today you're going to learn how to fix that and stop the progression into the full-blown disease, okay? So was Hippocrates right? All disease begins in the gut. And yeah, he was. No surprise there. So the diseases I just listed, including cancer, including Alzheimer's, which is now being coined type 3 diabetes, most of these are not associated by anyone as gut issues, but all of them have an underlying gut problem associated with them. And we're going to go through that. Mood disorders, learning disabilities, we're seeing these rampant in the school systems. So when I say the word gut, I'm referring to the entire digestive system, literally running from the mouth all the way through down to the anus, okay? So this includes your salivary glands, which are releasing enzymes to break your food down, your teeth, which are breaking the food down so you can absorb these small little nutrients, the stomach with its acid, the liver with its enzymes and bile, and the gallbladder, the pancreas with its enzymes, the small intestine for absorption, the colon, which is absorbing water and forming the stool, and then finally the elimination of waste. So this is the gut, the actual gut. And when we talk about love my gut, we're literally talking about the entire gut and how to take care of this system. Because as you can see, it is the majority of your body. Aside from bones, skin, muscles, nerves, arteries, veins, this giant system is taking up about a third of your energy every single day. And that's why, somebody has a huge meal on Thanksgiving and they want to pass out, because this is a very energy expensive process, and it's a very, very large portion of your day that you're using to digest, absorb, and eliminate waste. So how do we absorb nutrients? In the gut. And what happens when we don't absorb nutrients in the gut? We become deficient or toxic, and that's what we're going to look at in the LRQs. Who's heard of the microbiome, right? So this is no longer news to most of you, I hope. But the microbiome is existing in the large intestine. So if I back up 2 notches here, the large intestine is where you have good bacteria deposited all over the place that literally live in your gut with you. And it's called a symbiotic relationship because these bacteria are helping you. They're a part of your immune system. They're part of your digestive process. They're part of your defense system against irritation of the gut lining. They're part of breaking down and creating nutrients that our body cannot create, like little small short chain fatty acids are called, SCFAs, butyrate or butyric acid, which we'll hit on. So again, the point of tonight is not to memorize a bunch of nutrients and things like that. You're going to leave here with action steps. But one of the action steps is you need to be aware that you are supposed to be covered in on the skin and living with these healthy bacteria all over your gut. And if you're missing them, you're in trouble. You need good bacteria. One of the issues that everyone in the room has is, I'd rather actually see this. Raise your hand if you've never taken an antibiotic in your entire life. Everyone's taken one, right? Because all of us in this room have lived through an age where the antibiotic was the wonder drug, right? And we've reached a point now, and this isn't my data, this is commonly known, that about 90% or more of antibiotics that are prescribed are not useful in that situation. They're overprescribed, right? There's not testing for a virus. They're not testing for the etiology of an infection. They're assuming there may be one, so take this prophylactically or preventatively. And so we're now realizing this entire generation of people, us, who are suffering the consequences of killing off all this good bacteria. So an antibiotic, which means anti-life, is killing bacteria, good, bad, or otherwise, okay? So the problem is, by bombing your body with antibiotics, you're not only eliminating all these invasive or imbalanced bad species in the body, you're also eliminating the good. And often, excuse me, oftentimes when we eliminate the good, we leave space for the bad to overpopulate. And then we're also going to hit the gut-brain connection. So the phrase is, your gut is your second brain. Some argue it's actually your first brain, meaning our intuition, our natural brain, our gut instinct as we use conversationally. The link between the gut and the brain is both physical through the nervous system. So your spinal cord sends branches off into what's called the enteric nervous system, which are the nerves that butt up against the inner lining of the gut. And then it's also chemical. Your hormone system feeds back. So your gut is the #1 producer of serotonin, which is the hormone that we medicate for in this country for depression or anxiety. That's made in the gut. It also helps produce GABA, gamma-butyric acid. And so these are all connections chemically to and from the gut and the brain, the body always looking to see what's going on, what's happening, what state of existence am I in. So you start to realize like how far this runs. The gut is 70 to 80% of the immune system of your body. And here's why. There's only really 3 areas your body interacts with the external environment. It's your skin, your lungs, so you're breathing external air into the lung surfaces. So the lungs are, technically speaking, external structures to the body, just like the skin, and so is the gut. So is the gut. So from your mouth down all the way through, you have a tube, the gut tube, which literally is external to the body, and then you're allowing things to come in through the gut lining into the bloodstream, internal to the body. So our immune system, we think of, when you have broken skin, we typically cover it up or disinfect it or wash it, protect it, right? And it's because things can easily enter the bloodstream through broken skin. Well, the same is true with an injured gut. So we know that our main interaction with the external environment is in the gut. And when the gut is damaged, when the bacteria are imbalanced, when there's inflammation, invasive species, parasites, different fungi, yeast in the gut, molds, these things are constantly interacting with our internal, external environment, and they tax and lower the immune function. So oftentimes autoimmune diseases, which are labeled as hyperactive immune systems, I agree, they're hyperactive, but they're overworked and they're exhausted, okay? So we're gonna talk about rebuilding this gut immune connection. 70% of the immune system, like I said, is in the gut. So some causes of interference as we get into how to fix this, okay? Some of the main causes of interference. #1 is called dysbiosis. So signs of dysbiosis are gas, bloating, really smelly breath. If you have gas that you're passing externally through the rectum and it smells really bad, that's a sign of fermentation of bad bacteria in your gut. These are all signs of dysbiosis. If you have acid reflux, that's a sign of dysbiosis. Dysbiosis is abnormal growth in the gut. So this means species that should not be growing in there are living in there, and there's nothing stopping them. And one of the problems with this is these little bacterial networks secrete a biofilm. So they essentially hunker down in your gut like an apartment complex, and they lock the doors and they stay in their units and they just live and enjoy life, and they're getting free food from you, and they're enjoying life, right? And so one of the things that we're going to go on this 21-day gut renew process, this gut cleanse, is how to break up biofilm. So biofilm is like they boarded up and protected the walls, and you can't get through it. So you got to break through the biofilm, then get to the bad bacteria, then eliminate those, and we're going to get into how to do that. But if you have signs of dysbiosis, you are on a march in the wrong direction towards chronic disease. And it can show up in millions of different ways. Achy knees, sore and swollen hands and joints. People come in with spinal pain and problems to the clinic, and some of that is coming from dysbiosis in their body. So we're going to touch on that too. Disruption. So this is just talking about, could this be a biomarker associated with cancer survival? So of course it can, is what we're realizing. That people who have cancer, if we go back and now we're starting to do these longer cohort studies, somebody with abnormal gut flora, a dysbiosis, is going to have decreased immune function. Decreased immune function over time eventually leads to cancer. And this is well known. And ironically, a lot of the treatments for these autoimmune issues that eventually manifest after dysbiosis are chemotherapy medications and immunosuppressants, biologics, or steroids, right? So somebody comes into the hospital or the clinic and says, my joints hurt, I'm inflamed, I'm in pain, my gut hurts, I can't eat, I'm miserable, right? And the treatment in the short term is often to shut the immune system off to decrease inflammation. So they feel a little bit of relief at the beginning, but then you're making a chronic issue even worse by now eliminating the immune system's ability to self-regulate and self-heal. So you can often, when you're on biologics and other immunosuppressants, we know that there's a risk for cancer. So the opposite is true, is what they're saying in this study, is could microbiota serve as a biomarker associated with patient survival? And they're looking at, and some of these are so dramatic that they're looking at actual fecal transplants, meaning they're going to take feces from a healthy human being and transplant it into the large intestine of a sick person so that they can adopt the microbiome from them so their body can begin to change. And it's working, right? But there are other ways to do that. You don't have to borrow somebody's poop, right? So another interesting link is bad bacteria, overgrowth in the gut, hypertension. So number one killer in the United States, we just did a huge workshop on it, is high blood pressure leading to these cardiovascular events, strokes, heart attacks, right? Coronary artery disease. Gut dysbiosis is linked. Gut dysbiosis is linked. So, and again, I was kind of mentioning this earlier, is the solution is not to completely bomb the city, eliminate all bacteria, and create a sterile environment in the gut. This was the theory 60 years ago, 50 years ago, was that the gut is sterile. It should be nothing there. So prophylactically, antibiotics would be given to clean out and sterilize the gut. Now we know it's literally the opposite, and we're transplanting feces into there, right? So you guys see the trends here. The overarching principle that I want to get across to you guys tonight too is that human beings on this planet, our understanding of health may change as time goes on. And the situation you're in is unique to you, right? We need to look at the environment you're in and how your body's working to make sure you're healthy. But the rules will never change. The rules will never, ever change. Excuse me. The rules will never change because the human body, you're walking around in this ancient, intelligent body, and it's living in a foreign, modern world. Okay? So a lot of the problems we're running into is because we think it's a good idea. We weren't made right. Let's sterilize the gut. Now we think it's a good idea to maybe inject feces in there. And so what I'm saying is the more we mess with it, oftentimes the further from health we get, where what we really need to do is, and we're going to get into this, remove the interference so the body can do what it does best and return back to the things that it needs the most. And that's what I'm going to teach you guys tonight. But what I'm saying is we're not waiting for some modern cure for autoimmune disease. What we're waiting for, and that's why everyone's here tonight, is a return back to normal living for the human body so it can function normally. Does that make sense? There's never going to be a breakthrough scientific research cure for cancer. We're going to discover that we're doing something wrong really bad, and I can list 17 things right now that we are, and then we're going to say, oh, if you just remove all those, then cancer goes away, or we see cancer incidence go down. And right now we're seeing it continue to go up. Okay, so it's all in the lifestyle. So no, you can't live an incongruent lifestyle, give the body the wrong things, and then just clean it out with antibiotics and hope to be healthy. It won't work. This is a study saying the opposite. Who's heard of H. pylori? H. pylori. So it's thought that H. pylori is an invasive species. Well, we're finding now that actually H. pylori is supposed to be in the gut, just in moderate controlled levels. So when there's an overgrowth, like any other form of dysbiosis, it's often associated with ulcers in the stomach, acid reflux. So the typical treatment for H. pylori, which is known to be difficult to remove, is antibiotics. But they're saying, oh my gosh, it's actually making everything worse by eliminating it. So again, we're just learning more about how, hey, the more we mess with this, the worse it gets. So inflammation, I have to take a little moment to explain. Inflammation is known as the underlying cause of all disease and pain and everything. Every disease, every pain you've ever had typically has an itis on the end of it, which is the Latin root for inflammation, okay? So if you can moderate and eliminate inflammation systematically, your diseases and your pains are minimized. Now the problem is, we say inflammation is the cause of disease. Where does inflammation come from? The body creates it. Why does the body create inflammation? It's a signaling system to guide repair, okay? So the way it works is, if you never, ever, ever had inflammation ever again, you would die. And if you had way too much chronic inflammation, like an example would be a cytokine storm, you die. And somewhere in between is the perfect amount of fluctuating inflammation on a daily basis, meaning the body notices something's damaged, inflames, heals, and the inflammation goes away. Best example would be, I hit my elbow on the wall, it swells up. As my body heals it, the inflammation goes down, I'm done. If I hit my elbow on the wall and it was swollen for 19 years, something's wrong, right? And if I crush my elbow on the wall and nothing happened, there's also something wrong. You see what I'm explaining there? So the inflammation is huge to understand, because you are essentially in charge of inflammation in your body by how much stress and wear you put on your body and how well you help your body heal. So I'll say that again. You're in charge of your inflammation. The things you eat, the way you think, the way you move, how intense or not you work out, the way your spine functions and your nervous system is able to repair and regenerate, whether or not you have the right nutrients in your bloodstream, whether or not you're toxic, all of this plays into your inflammation level. So you're in charge of it. The problem is no one's ever taught you, here's how to manage your inflammation, right? So we're going to do that. Who's heard of leaky gut? So leaky gut is a term that's thrown around very loosely. I'm going to explain it in detail in a little bit here. But basically, leaky gut is the analogy of a cut on your skin. When the membrane in your intestines gets damaged, things that should not be in the bloodstream get into the bloodstream, and now your immune system, or also known as the GALT, this lymphatic system that surrounds your gastrointestinal system, that's 80% of your immune system, is working nonstop to remove these bad things, and it fatigues you. So this is exactly how it works. So you have this membrane is a tiny micro zoomed in picture of these things called these little villi that stick out, and these are the little enteric cells in the gut. Okay, so basically you have the gut tube, has these folds in it, and then if you zoom in on that, there's little tiny folds in there, and then this is what we're looking at. These little tiny cells have little fingers on them, and they're constantly scanning the environment for good things, like a piece of broccoli you digested and your body wants to take in, and then it goes in through the bloodstream, and then your body uses it, okay? And then you have all of these different immune system patches, the Peyer's patches, that sit there and they guard the wall, they guard the membrane, okay? So the analogy is, like, this is like a bar, or like it's like a club, and there's bouncers at the door, your immune system, and these little cells which are going to decide what's allowed in and what's not, okay? So what happens is tight junctions, which is how close they're standing together, get weakened. by glyphosate, which is pesticides in food, herbicides, antibiotics damage these cells, other heavy metals in your drinking water, chlorines that you're showering in, right? So you start to look at all these different things that are coming in. Microplastics, we're learning. The average American eats a credit card of plastic every month because it's in our water, it's in our food, it's everywhere in our oceans and our lakes. So these are all damaging these little gut cells. You end up with these missing intestinal cell wall gaps coined leaky gut or hyperpermeability. So basically they're areas where the door is left wide open, everyone's gone, there's no immune function there. Yeast, parasites, undigested food particles are leaking in, the immune system's interacting with that, and now you have a immune response, inflammation. Are you guys with me? So what we're working on doing today is creating the layer that goes around this again, the mucosal wall in the gut, giving these little cells the right nutrients that they need, nerve supply, that's what this nerve right here is to repair these areas, blood supply to repair these areas, and then eliminating these things, which we're going to go through, that damage it. And if you do, guess what the body does? It starts to heal. So somebody who has rheumatoid arthritis, for example, just a random example, most likely upon testing and further examination will have either hyperpermeability or leaky gut that started 15 to 20 years prior to their rheumatoid diagnosis. And oftentimes what happens is no one ever fixes it. So if you don't fix this, if you don't stop the leak, the analogy is the faucet's running, it's overflowing, and you're over here just mopping up the water without ever turning the faucet off. So this is turn the faucet off, fix your gut, then you can go through and start healing from the damage that's already there. And if it's 20 years of rheumatoid, you better believe there's going to be some permanent damage on the fingers. Or if it's a Hashimoto's thyroiditis, you better believe there may be some permanent damage to the thyroid gland based on these autoimmune attacks that are happening. I'm not going to go into too much detail into like molecular mimicry, but essentially certain undigested food particles, like we know that gluten particles, when they leak in undigested through a leaky gut like this, they mimic thyroid. So the immune system is going to attack that and say, this is foreign. We know this is foreign. Yeah? Yeah, so gluten has a correlation. The question, gluten has a correlation with Hashimoto's thyroiditis, specifically. And this is still all being tested, but it's called molecular mimicry. And the analogy is basically you see somebody on the street that looks familiar, and you're like, is that Sarah? And you get closer, and it's not her. But it kind of looked like her. So these gluten particles, these proteins, can look like thyroid proteins. So you create an antibody against the gluten that also attacks the thyroid. And that's where these site-specific autoimmunities happen, where other ones attack the joints. Other ones attack the gut itself, right? But again, the solution is always to come back in here and repair the wall, okay? So that's leaky gut. Leaky gut, you're going to get underlying chronic inflammation, which is going to make everything miserable. Everything. You're going to work out, you're going to be extremely sore and have no energy the next day, and you're never going to want to work out again, right? These are the people that when we adjust them for the first time, they're really sore, and we have to scale back some of the adjusting because their body's already so inflamed that it's even difficult to heal through all the noise and the chaos in the immune system and the bloodstream. SIBO is a different problem. Again, dysbiosis, overgrowth, but it's growth going into the small intestines. There should never, ever be bacteria in the small intestines as we understand it, only in the large. And one of the number one ways to get SIBO is chronic antacid use. So you swallow the food, the stomach is acidic, that acid has to be there to break your proteins down. And then in its infinite wisdom, the body was made right. And as the acid goes through the small intestines, surface area of a tennis court, weaving for hours through there, it becomes slightly more alkaline, more closer to neutral, and then eventually alkaline. So what happens is, as it gets to the large intestine, it's no longer acidic, and the bacteria can live there. So if you're taking antacids, trying to hush a symptom, which is, again, your body crying for help, trying to hush the symptom of reflux, what you're doing is alkalizing your stomach acid, alkalizing the small intestines, and now bacteria will begin growing in areas where it shouldn't, and you typically end up with dramatic gas and bloating. It's difficult to digest foods, food sensitivities. So the solution oftentimes is restoring normal acid balance to the body. So that's SIBO. Is it possible to heal? And I think everyone in the room understands this. If you can heal a cut, you can heal this. So here's how to do it. We're going to reference this because this kind of goes back to the LRQ. This is a vitality continuum. So when we talk about health, health is vitality. It's are you alive? Are you healing? Okay? And so optimal health is great health habits, responsibility for your own health outcomes, and you have a strong health philosophy, meaning you understand that health is the ability to heal, and you're doing the things in your life that allow the body to heal and make it easy to heal. This is the secret. This is the secret. The most dangerous place to be where we meet people is no active symptoms, which means I think I'm good because I feel good, right? This is where you get surprised with a stage 4 cancer diagnosis or a heart attack because you feel good, right? And so I'm just showing you the continuation here. All the way at the end over here is poor quality of life. You know, you become depressed and you no longer think healing is possible. And so the problem is, and the reason I put this up is because a lot of this stuff is mental. When you decide to do what you need to do to get healthy, we've all seen it in this clinic over the years and years of doing this, thousands of different people. When you decide to make the changes, you can heal. If you're alive, you can heal. If you're alive, you can heal. So we're going to go through the 5 essentials and how that works. So the LRQ is, it's going to look at your nervous system, core chiropractic, nutrition, mindset, oxygen, and minimizing toxins. And it's going to rank you in each of those categories. And you're going to see, wow, I'm doing great. I'm getting adjusted on time. I'm doing my home exercises. My diet's great. But man, I need some help with my mindset, and I'm really stressed out at work. And then you can cater your lifestyle to meet those needs. So that's the LRQ that you guys all got sent. And that's going to shoot you out a PDF with some recommendations and some red flags and some blind spots, okay? And so you're looking to go to maximize living, max living, but it's going to rank you whether you're living well or at high risk, okay? So that's the LRQ. Now you can use that as we formulate this plan here to decide how committed you have to be to this, right? Some of you may need to change 2 or 3 things. Some of you, this is going to be like the next 3 weeks are going to be a whole new life for you, but you're going to realize a whole new potential for yourself. So identify the cause, remove the interference, and restore life. That's the protocol, but here's how to do it. Number 1, nutritional issues that cause dysbiosis, SIBO, gut dysfunction, chronic inflammation. These are the top 5 food categories right here, okay? You guys also got handouts, correct? No? Not yet. You will get handouts, okay? So one of the handouts is the top 5 things to avoid, and the other one is a nice food pyramid that's going to organize this diet really nicely for you, okay? Because this is where it becomes like, man, I have to go through, what am I eating for breakfast? What am I eating for lunch? What am I eating for snacks? What am I doing? When am I going to work out? Right? So this is where it starts getting tricky. Artificial sweeteners, some of you think you're doing a good job by avoiding sugar and drinking Diet Coke, or you're putting sucralose, or you're chewing gum with aspartame in it. And what you're really doing is you're killing all the healthy bacteria in your gut. So huge red flag. You should never, ever drink a pop ever again for the rest of your life. It's just my opinion. I'll never do it, right? The same way I don't smoke, I don't drink pop. You see what I'm saying? Okay? The other thing is you also need to watch for artificial sweeteners because they sneak into everything. They sneak into everything. So the big ones are sucralose, aspartame. You'll see those everywhere. You see those everywhere. They actually have warnings on them now because they're neurotoxins. But they also kill your gut. And that's probably why they're neurotoxins, because they kill the gut and then secondarily affect the brain. So sugar is the other one. I know I kind of skipped over that. Who knows another word for sugar? Carbohydrate, right? Same thing. So my favorite thing in the world is somebody says, man, I can't lose weight. I'm still feeling inflamed. I stopped eating sugar. And I say, well, what'd you have for breakfast? And they say, oatmeal with a banana in it. Oatmeal, sugar. It's a carbohydrate. The banana is sugar. They're not as bad as eating like a Snickers bar for breakfast, but when you're in a state of chronic inflammation, they're pretty much the same thing. You chew the complex carbs, they break into the simple ones, which are little sugars, right? Like white cane sugar, and it influences the body the same way, okay? So I'm going to show you on here how to eliminate sugar from the diet. You need to strictly eliminate sugar from the diet for the next 21 days if you really want to see big changes. I'm talking under 50 grams of carbohydrates, but I'll show you how to do that. Gluten, like we talked about. On a sidebar here, gluten gets a really bad rap. There are other proteins in these grains that cause issues in our body. Like one of them is called WGA, wheat germ agglutinate. There's tons of these proteins. We don't know the name of them all. And gluten may be getting blamed a little bit for some of the toxicity with the way we process and grow wheat, like with pesticides and herbicides. But the point is, if you eat that bread, it's got the pesticides, the herbicides, the genetically modified wheat, and gluten, and all these other proteins in it. Does that make sense? So we'll call it gluten, but really what I mean is grains. Grains. Grains are highly inflammatory. They're hard to digest unless you properly prepare them. But for the intent of these next 21 days, the gut reset, avoid completely any grains. Any grains. Okay? We're going to go through the list in a second. You guys can easily do this. Conventional meats. Conventional meats, which should just be called toxic meats. So conventional meats would be the salmon that was farm raised in a pen, fed garbage food, right? Because whatever it's eating, it's accumulating. The same with all these other industrial, like an industrial chicken that was raised in a warehouse with no sunlight and GMO and antibiotics all over it. So these sick animals are toxic and sick. All their tissues are made out of toxic stuff, and then you're eating it. So these antibiotics, the most antibiotics in the world are used in the US. We use most of the drugs in the world. Upwards of 70% of the medications in the world are used in the US, but most of the antibiotics we use in this country are actually on animals, on pigs and on beef, on cows. So that's where a lot of our antibiotics are being used. So when you eat these, you're getting antibiotics, and they're slowly killing your microbiome on your gut and your skin, okay? So you switch over to grass-fed or pastured, or right now it's farmer's market season. We've been getting our meat from the farmer's market. So this farmer comes from Michigan. We literally tell them what we want, and they bring it the next week. And nowadays it's so much, you can just order online. There's different co-ops you can order from. There's local farms around here that do it. So get in touch with where the meats are coming from, or at a minimum, go to like a Fresh Time, or maybe a Whole Foods, or that actually kind of takes some accountability for some of these. Damaged or altered fats. Damaged fats. Anything deep fried or fried is damaged, especially if you didn't do it, okay? So if you came to my house and I fried you something in avocado oil at low heat, fine. That's not what's happening at the store. I mean, at the restaurant. It's not what's happening, okay? We even joke about it, right? They haven't changed their oil in 6 months, kind of thing, right? That's what makes it taste so good. So you cannot, anything fried becomes an inflammatory trans fat, which your body cannot process. It's inflammatory. You can't make healthy cells out of it. So hard line here. And then alcohol is another one, because alcohol, we know, sterilizes things. It also sterilizes your gut. So this doesn't mean you have a glass of a dry red wine on Saturday when you're out to dinner with your spouse. Totally different. If you're drinking a bottle or two of wine every night, you're in trouble. But when you're trying to fix your gut, you should be drinking none. Follow me? So again, you fix this low-grade chronic inflammation, and your body can start tolerating more of this stuff too. So you spend 21 days getting really healthy, and then after that, you can start having a little bit more fun. So here's the diet. These are the 3 rules. Eat food by God, not food by science, or we say food by manufacturing, okay? There are food scientists making your food. We don't have time to go into that. They're working on the chemistry, figuring out what your brain likes, figuring out how to make the fries last longer and stay crispy. They're working on it. And none of this stuff's labeled because they don't have to, because a lot of it's not food. So food by God, what does that mean? It grew somewhere, okay? Skip the sugar alternatives. Your palate will change. Your palate will change. You will stop being so overstimulated, like turning the music down. It'll start sounding normal again, right? Who's done that? You left the music on in your car, you got out of the car, you got back in, and it scared you when you got in, right? You were used to it when you got out of the car and you weren't when you got back in. That's the same with sugar. They've tested it. Toxicants, not calories. Counting calories is worthless. It's worthless. And if you just follow the pyramid, you're going to be fine. It's not calories in, calories out. We've done the slide where I've shown you guys 20 calories of an almond versus 20 calories of Twinkie. Everyone says 20 calories. No, it's not. What's in it, right? What's in it? I don't want to eat things that could survive nuclear blasts like cockroaches and Twinkies. Max Living Core Plan. Tons of healthy fats. We'll get to the list. Full fat dairy if you can tolerate it. How do you know if you tolerate it? You're not full of mucus and the next day. Naturally raised animal proteins, whole grains and ancient grains. Some of you in the room, if you are inflamed, do not do any of these. That's called the advanced plan. Fruits and veggies are okay. Tons of veggies. Plant-based carbs like lentils, things like that. Okay, so we'll get into the details on that. And then these are just like the top 5 routines. This is a protein supplement, cruciferous vegetables, nuts and seeds, berries, and healthy fats. So that's like your diet. That's the diet. So if you want to take a picture of that, do it. That's the diet. But we're going to get into the details right now. So the core plan is a lifestyle forever. That's the human diet. That's what humans are made to eat and how we live. Now, if you want to do an advanced plan for advanced healing, that's where you completely cut grains out, and that's where you get off of all fruits except for berries. Okay? That's the advanced plan, and those are on your pyramids, on your handout, so don't worry too much about that. So here's how you fix your gut, okay? Anyone that has any of those symptoms we're listing and many more, or you want to avoid them, you might as well do this protocol. This is the 3 R's of healing. Number 1 is remove. So remove means get rid of the parasites, the yeast, candida, the fungus, the dysbiosis, the toxins in your drinking water, the processed foods, the hormones and the antibiotics in the bad meats. You have to stop doing the damage or it'll never heal, okay? And you're going to remove that stuff, some of it intentionally. That's what Max GI is for. So it's got a little bit of everything in Max GI, and it's gentle enough that I can tell every one of you in the room that you'll benefit from taking it. Does that make sense? When you start getting tested and going a little bit deeper into the layers of what you have actually going on, a lot of you in this room will need a stronger antimicrobial to maybe get rid of biofilm and yeast or some of these other dysbiosis overgrowths. But for the most part, Max GI can help you, especially if you're cleaning out the diet. So what this is, it's got probiotics, low dose, because as you're removing, you need to replace, okay? The gut will never be sterile, so you got to put the good guys in there. It's got some essential oils, clove, oregano, and thyme. Clove being the number 1, which breaks down biofilm. Clove oil, okay? So cloves in there. It's got lysozyme, which breaks bacterial cell walls open in biofilm as well. So it's going to digest some of this. It's an enzyme that breaks down bad bacteria, basically. And so you take 2 of these first thing in the morning on an empty stomach for 30 days. Yep. And it's going to help with bowel movements. It helps decrease a lot of the gas and bloating. Has anyone ever taken Max GI? Notice changes on it, right? I mean, pretty quick, like 2-3 days. A lot of people will ask me, they'll have like skin rashes or hives. It's really good for that too, because again, these things start in the gut. So remove means remove the bad stuff through your lifestyle and then remove it through a little bit of help. So this is part of this 21-day process. Repair. So how do we repair? So in order for the gut to start working right again, you've got to clean up some of the waste and debris and make sure you're breaking everything down the right way. Step 1 of repair, chew your food until it's soft and liquidified, okay? You should be almost swallowing smoothie gulps when you're eating. You shouldn't be rushing. You shouldn't be the first one done eating. That's a red flag, right? Chew your food. I challenge you to become aware of it by chewing your food 20 times before you swallow, okay? That's how you start doing this repair process. Number 2, never eat when you're rushed. Digestion is a parasympathetic, a calm nervous system activity, not a stress activity, okay? So if you eat when you're rushed, you're not going to digest right. The body will not devote the energy to it. You're not going to break your food down right. You're going to end up bloating, gassy, irritated, inflamed. And when that starts happening, then the bad stuff starts growing in the gut. It becomes problematic. Super Digeszyme, this is a broad spectrum digestive enzyme that I use. Me and my wife use this on a regular basis. This is for use when you're repairing your gut every meal. Because what it does is it breaks down proteins, it breaks down carbohydrates, it breaks down fats, it breaks down plant cell walls, it breaks down gluten, it breaks down milk sugar with lactase, it breaks down, it's got a whole blend in it. So all the foods you're eating, it helps break all that stuff down. When the particles are broken down appropriately, your body can absorb them through those little tight junctions, those little gaps between the cells we were looking at. And when they're not, you can't. So you aren't what you eat, you are what you absorb. Does that make sense? So if you don't break it down, you can't absorb it. Your body's never going to be able to use it and make it into anything. So that's what these are for. These, I mean, they're not really a treatment for anything, but they can help minimize gas or bloating. They can help minimize acid reflux. So it's a way to help increase effectiveness of digestion instead of shut it down. So this is part of the gut bundle. So you're doing the Max GI in the morning. You take one of these before each meal, about 15 minutes before the meal, and it's going to start breaking the food down as you eat it. This is a little known. How many people are already taking the grass-fed whey? You've been doing it for years. So I've been taking this for like 10 years, okay? And there's new research coming out all the time. But basically, they're finding that the little bacteria in your gut benefit greatly from some of the products in whey protein. And so not only do they have a prebiotic effect, meaning they nourish and feed desirable bacteria in the gut, short chain fatty acids, which you've heard of long chain, MCT, medium chain fatty acids, right? And then short chain. Short chain are very hard to get because the bacteria make them. We don't. They're actually coming out with supplements for this now because dysbiosis and gut problems are so big and people aren't willing to fix it. So they're just going to try to cheat and supplement it, right? But there's some benefit to doing that short term as well, butyric acid. But whey protein is good for the bacteria. It's good for detoxification because it helps increase glutathione production. Glutathione is the master antioxidant, and it's made out of cysteine, which is very rich in here. And it also donates a bunch of, when it's from a healthy cow, it's processed, cold processed, not heated, and it's a whey concentrate like this is, you're getting actual immunoglobulins from the milk that actually help support your immune system. So this is part of it. What you're going to do with it is make a smoothie every single morning. So one of the steps in doing this reset is you never, ever have to think about breakfast. Just wake up and make a smoothie every morning. Is anybody smoothie people in here already? Yeah. It's like the best thing I've ever done in my life. I mean, I didn't always eat this way. Come on. But the smoothie game is like, nobody wants to think in the morning. Nobody wants to do dishes in the morning. You want convenient and you want easy. And it's like, not only is it convenient and easy, but it's actually good for you. Yeah, so you just do the smoothie in the morning. The ultra basic smoothie is just mix the protein and the greens in a nut milk. Macadamia, coconut, almond milk. That's what you do. They're tapping you like you're the convenience one. And then re-inoculate. So re-inoculate, we're going to reinsert healthy bacteria into the gut. So that's probiotics. So these are the probiotic foods here. Fermented cheeses and dairy are good, again, if you can tolerate dairy. It's got to be organic, or even go to like the Amish store and get some of these things raw, whatever you need to do. But that's a great way to get things. Sauerkrauts, you got, these are pickled and fermented, like a kimchi over here. The other thing I do is take probiotics. Who's on a probiotic? So part of this process is when you're taking the enzymes, when you're taking the Max GI to help remove and kill some of this stuff off, you need to be putting the good guys back in there. And I recommend while you're doing this 21 days, you're doing a 50 to 60 billion dose of probiotics, 50 to 60 billion CFUs. So the one that's in our bundle is the glass bottle over there. That's a probiotic. So there's 90 capsules in there. You open that thing up, put it in the fridge. It doesn't have to be refrigerated, but I like it in there because when you're rummaging around, you're going to see it. That'll be your late night snack, the probiotic. It can either be taken first thing in the morning or at night. Those are the best two times to take it. When the gut's at rest, and some of those are going to live through the gut process. all the way down, and they're going to take up residence in your bowels and start helping you digest food, eliminate waste, protect you from viruses and bad bacteria. They're going to help you out, which is why it's called symbiotic. And then what they do is they live on prebiotics. There we go. I'm going to back up, but healthy bacteria eat fiber that we can't. And so we call them prebiotics. So you have probiotics, which are healthy bacteria. You have prebiotics, which are resistant starches, and I'll teach you about that in a second. And then there's these things called postbiotics, which are short-chain fatty acids or butyric acid. So the beneficial things that bacteria do to help you out. And that's how it works. So just like a garden, you're going to plant them there, nourish them, water them, and just like an unhealthy garden, when the leaves are brown, you look at the cause instead of painting the leaves green. Okay?
What is the red and green thing?
Where at? Oh, that's a beet. Beet and broccoli.
Oh, broccoli. Oh.
Yeah, beets are good resistant starches, actually. And a lot of fruits have them. The more unripe the banana is, actually, the more resistant starch is in it. The more resistant starch. I'm back over here. So this is, yes.
Kombucha, right?
Yes. Oh, that's on my picture. Maybe that was it. It's tough to tell from the top. Yeah. So the question was, is kombucha a probiotic? Yeah. Yeah. Kombucha has probiotics in it, and they use carbohydrates and resistant starches to build that up, you know. So this is the bundle. Like if you're all in on doing the 21 days, you're getting our booklet. Can I see one of the booklet things real quick? It's a recipe book. So we were talking about this, and we send you guys recipes, and we have some online, but this is like all the recipes are printed out, ready to go. You can put it on your counter. I don't know if it's just me. I hate doing recipes from my phone. I don't know why. I try to do it all the time, and then the phone goes to sleep, and then my hands have stuff, and I'm trying to unlock the phone. And so this is this is the Love My Guts recipe book. So you really don't have to think. You just go to the store, and you're like, ooh, that one sounds kind of good. Okay, so I need a bag of this. All right, I need some sea salt, some coconut milk. I'll get some chia seeds. And then you can just get into a little bit of a rhythm for the next 21 days. Okay, so the point of the bundle is max GI first thing in the morning, 2 capsules, empty stomach, wait 30 minutes before you eat. You're taking an enzyme before each meal. You're taking this either in the morning or at night, and this is going into your smoothie. And by doing that, you're hitting these 3 stages of gut repair along with cleaning up the diet for 21 days. And you're going to see some pretty impressive things happen. You're going to notice changes in body composition. You'll probably drop at least 5 to 10 pounds of inflammation just by doing this change, usually within the first 2 weeks.
Can you take the max GI with probiotics?
Yes. The question was, can I take the max GI and the probiotics together? Yes. The answer is yes. In fact, that's what I do. Yeah, because otherwise I'm going to forget. So that's the gut health bundle. What we did is anytime we do these bundles, 15% off just makes it easier. And that way you're committed on doing that. And if you're doing this, if you're doing the 21 days with me, you're going to go on our Facebook group, and we're going to be bouncing recipes and ideas and things back every day. So we have a private Facebook group with the office. So that's always fun too, because then people are like, oh, look, I found this deal, and it's just a cool camaraderie with it. And that way you're not like isolated on your own and you got your buddy calling you to get pizza or something. You're like, I might as well. No one, right? We're going to call you out. We're watching. No, I'm just kidding. So Max Greens. So talking about prebiotic fiber, we just reformulated our Max Greens. We've been out of them for a little bit, but this is a great way if you're not a big salad person or like I love cooking vegetables and eating vegetables. This is all dried veggies, dried fruits, medicinal mushrooms, prebiotics, enzymes, probiotics. It's got everything in it, and you just add it into your smoothies. Yeah. This is a quick aside. Not many of you know this because we haven't told anybody. So we are relaunching our metabolics program because there's new testing available that is really cool. So Genova Labs has a test called Metabolomics Plus. And what it does is, this is for somebody who is struggling, and maybe you do the 21-day reset and you're not where you want to be, or you know that just doing the reset the way that I'm teaching it is maybe not going to be enough, or you want to know more specifically, like, do I have an overgrowth? Am I deficient in these nutrients? Do I have toxicity? I was exposed to this. We did a remodel in our house. Well, how did that affect my physiology? You have a diagnosis, maybe cancer, heart disease, diabetes, any of the inflammatory conditions we talked about, autoimmunes. So these are just like screenshots I threw up here. So the metabolomics, this is the test kit. So we actually all just ran this as a staff because we're not going to tell you to do anything that we're not going to do, right? But the cool thing about it is you're taking people that are living healthy lives, right? We're getting adjusted, we're eating right, we're working out, we're doing all the things that we teach, and you're going to find little deficiencies and problems still, right? So this isn't mine. I should just put mine up. But my oxidative stress was high and my omegas were out of balance. But the cool thing about it is now I know it's my omega-3 ALAs that are off because all I'm doing is supplementing EPA and DHA. So I can fix it. Well, I didn't know that. And so guess what? A month from now, I'm going to be less sore, less achy, more energy. So this is what we're doing with this is it's a urinalysis. So it's a urine sample that's looking at hundreds of metabolites that are spit out by your body's processes that look at B vitamins, DNA damage, oxidative stress markers. I mean, you're looking at it here. Methylation, which is the shutdown and removal of hormones. They're looking at toxicity markers, fatty acid imbalances, which lead to chronic inflammation and can also be signs of gut issues if your short chain ones are off. Mitochondrial dysfunction, which is correlated with cancer and oxidative stress and rapid aging. And so what it does is it gives you an overall readout and says, here's where you're good, here's where you're bad. So this person's really good on mitochondrial, really bad omega, toxic, and methylation, right? Then it's going to give you an overview of nutrient needs. So you can literally see like, wow, this person needs B1. Or I'm sorry, it's kind of backward. But it's going to show you the nutrient needs specific to what your body's at the time. And then the way the protocol works is you run the initial testing, we get the results, we get your LRQ, we put all that together and we meet with you one-on-one. And we put together a protocol over the next 90 days is about average for most people on how to fix it. And then we're going to retest you at the end of that protocol. And it's going to involve whatever interventions are necessary based on your testing for you to fix the problem at its root cause. So it's really specific.
So do this after the 21 days, you do this, and then after the 90 days, you test it again?
So that's a good question. So the question is basically like, when do I do this? Right? So you could do the 21-day reset and then test it, which would probably be a good idea for some of the people in the room. If you're the type of person that's already like, you're bad, you need to do the reset, but it's probably not enough, then you just start doing it right away, because then right away, while you're doing the reset, we can say, hey, you also need to get really high doses on B1 and B6, and we need to do this chelation to eliminate some of these toxic metals, and you got to get this going on at home to remove the source of this, right? So you can customize more instead of saying like, here's what's good for everyone's guts, right? It's kind of like saying, it's good practice if you have a garden to water it, have nutrient-rich soil and good sunlight, right? But if I go and look at your garden at home, it's like, oh, well, here's where you're not getting enough sunlight here, and then this is where you're watering the leaves instead of the roots. Like, you shouldn't be doing that, So it's more customized. Does that make sense? Does that answer it? Yeah. So if you already are unhealthy and inflamed, just run it right away. If you're like doing really good and you just want to get better, do the 21-day reset, see where you're at. And if your vitality is really high, your sleep's good, your energy's good, your body's light, then you may not need to run it. You may not need to. Or there's just somebody in here like me, like, I just wanted to run it. I want to know. It's not like that I like felt bad that I was like, oh man, I need to run this. I'm in trouble. But I found out, I'm like, man, my omegas are way off. No wonder. So there's another level there for me that I just found out. And part of it is I was off my game. We moved houses. I wasn't taking my omegas. It messes with, you're moving kitchens, so you're a little bit off. So it's just good to have feedback. But so basically what we're doing with it is it's definitely a process. Like, it's a one-on-one health coaching pretty much. So the cost normally, well, and this is the cool thing about being part of a network. So Max Living, we negotiated with Genova because we're running this in hundreds of offices around the US. Well, most of the offices, the ones that can do it. So this test is over $2,000. is what Genova charges. We negotiate them down to $750, which makes it way easier. But what we're doing like to launch it is $650. So if you know you want to do it, or even if you're thinking like, hey, in 21 days I want to do it, you could say, hey, I want to do it tonight, and we can like put you down. Like you just do your $650 tonight, and then we could run it in 21 days. Now, like, the kit doesn't expire, if that makes sense. But I'm just letting you guys know, like that's what we're starting to do now. So I know some of you are interested in that, and we're making it even better. You'll save $100 off of doing it if you're doing it today, you know. And if you're online, I guess you have to send us a message. These are some other things, 'cause I get a lot of questions on this. I just want to touch on these. What does somebody do after the 21 days? Or what do I need to be doing on a regular basis? And again, going back to like the garden analogy, this is, you know, your water and sunlight and healthy soil. These are things I will never stop taking just because I've seen it over and over and over and over. And any one of you that runs the metabolics profile, I can promise you this will most likely be an issue for you. I hope it's not, but it most likely will be. This is omegas. So these four I'm just pinpointing to say, like, these are some things that should just, for me, I'm never going to stop taking them. And what I mean by that is I'm going to go 3 weeks on, a week off, 3 weeks on, a week off. Like, I'm not a robot about it. I might miss a day of D3, and then 3 days later, I'll take 2 or 3 pills of D3, right? But it's omega fats, vitamin D3, B complex, and magnesium. These are the top deficiencies in the US that are underlying most issues. So just by being on some of these with a good diet, you're going to fix a lot of problems, okay? Omega-3s are necessary for the brain, and they're part of the body's healing and cellular repair process. So there's not too many sources of them. Fatty fish, flax seeds are really good. Here's the problem. Fatty fish are great. Our oceans are toxic. So I'm not eating salmon every day because you're going to bioaccumulate plastic and mercury and lead and arsenic and garbage that we've dumped in the oceans. You're going to. So that's the only reason why I like supplementing omega fats, is because if you get them, they can clean all that stuff out. They test it, right? So they take the oil, pull the heavy metals out, and now we have a product that's been tested. It doesn't have heavy metals, right? So that's the one that I take here. I do eat a lot of fresh fish, though. It's got to be wild caught. I'm thinking about, and I'll let you guys know if I go through with it. I found a farm in Alaska that catches them in season. They vacuum seal them and freeze them and ship them out to you. But it's like you buy a ton of them. Like you're buying like 30 salmon fillets. So if I do, maybe I'll have a cooler up here. So I have 1,000 salmon fillets. But I think that's a great idea. You know, getting fresh maybe once a week, twice a week is great. Flax seeds, perfect. Throw them in your smoothie. You have to fresh grind them though, because they're going to oxidize. So just like you would cut an apple or just bite into it and eat it, instead of like cutting the apple and leaving it on the counter for tomorrow, don't cut your flax seeds, grind them and leave them out. Grind them fresh, throw them in. So throw them in your coffee grinder and then put them in the smoothie, okay? You could do them whole. The problem is they're surrounded in insoluble fiber. So if you don't break them open, we don't get anything out of them. They will literally come out the same way they went in, unless you chew them up. If you chew them up, then you're fine. Yep, this is the old-fashioned grinder. Yeah, so those are the omega fats. The dietary fats decrease inflammation, and they change the way you express your genes. The longer you're inflamed, your genes change. That's the underlying ticker there.
So the liquid flaxseed is no good? Oil?
It's probably oxidized. I think I'd rather have that than nothing, but I'd rather do fresh ground flax seed. Or like maybe grind it and use it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then grind it again Thursday. You know what I mean? Like maybe grind a little thing. You just get like a bag of flax seeds. They'll look like these little guys. And then you use like just a blade grinder or a coffee grinder. Like the same way you do coffee beans. You can just dump them in your smoothie. Yeah. Smell the oil. See if it has a smell to it. That's another way. We don't have a lot of time to hit on the gut-brain connection, but 21-day reset, you will notice changes like I touched on. Serotonin and GABA are made in the gut. And when you're on a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, an SSRI antidepressant, or an MAOI, monoamine oxidase inhibitor, what they're doing is upregulating serotonin. Why would you need to do that? Probably because you're not making it. You're not making it. So I'm not here to alter your medications. Not my job. What I am here to say is fix your gut and watch what happens. Fix your gut and watch what happens. Okay. Yeah. So it's actually known the gut has more neurons than the brain. There's more neuronal density in the gut than the brain. And so the two, most of this is conscious thought, movement, feedback through the spinal cord, and a lot of processing. Where down here is, again, interaction with the environment, more like mood and emotion related. So the other thing I want to touch on lightly is you got to watch your mental state as well. Some of you are doing a really good job with your diet. Some of you are doing a really good job with these other things. And your self-talk and your outlook is off. Or you're going through something rough and you need to talk to somebody and get through some of that, because this will affect the gut the same way the gut will affect the brain. Okay? So again, you're going through a rough time in life, fixing your gut can benefit. It's not going to fix whatever's going on, but you see? So just be mindful of that. So action steps. Here's the reset. Take a picture of this slide. So I outlined that nicely for you. This is like the one you can keep on your phone in the grocery store. Real clean and simple. And then keep your phone out. Keep your phone out, because there's one more. And we can send these out too. If you get a bad picture, you can't get a picture. If you just follow these rules, right? Just stay on the left column, the green column. All right, and then there's one more. So this is, take a picture of that one. That's the long version. That's the long version. Like, what do you mean eat vegetables? Here's some examples. What kind of fruits? There you go. Yep. And then the oil section is huge. The oils is huge. So flax is on there, but what I mean more by that is like flax seeds. Yeah, because the oils, anytime the oils, like the smaller the seed, and they're protected when they're in there, when they're open, they're reacting with the environment. So that's a big difference there. And then here's another, take a picture of that one too. This is what I'm going to be doing for breakfast for the next 21 days, pretty much. We just started doing this with the almond butter in there, cinnamon and nutmeg. Really good. Maybe even a good winter one. Maybe in the wintertime, I'll share with you guys, my wife started doing like hot smoothies in the winter. Some really cool recipes. I was like, what? That sounds gross. And then I was like, okay, I get it. Yeah. And then, like I said, the recipe book. There's some recipes on the website for those of you that are more like focused and prepared. And then anyone that's doing the bundle, like I said, you'll get a copy of the recipe book to just take with you. That'll come with the bundle, so it makes things a lot easier. So basically, as we wrap things up here, number one thing is remove the garbage. Remove the bad foods, the sugars, the toxins, filter your water, chew your food really good, right? Number two is, if you're doing the reset, set your supplements out and get in a little bit of a habit, a little bit of a routine. The GI in the morning is going to start cleaning up the biofilm, the overgrowth, the gassiness, the burping, the farts, right? And then you're going to take your probiotics in the morning or night, just one capsule a day. You use your protein in your smoothie every morning, and then you're going to be doing the other one was the enzymes with each meal to help break your food down, increase bowel motility, get good bowel movement, so you're eliminating waste. Okay. Any one of you that wants to do the testing, let us know tonight. We have 5 kits. 5 kits. The other ones are on the way tomorrow, actually. 4 kits. Okay, we have 4 kits. So like the ones that are really ready to go, just let us know. We have 4 kits here, and we can teach you how to use them. We are getting more kits delivered tomorrow, so there's more kits. So literally, if you want to do it, we'll just say, hey, well, you do your 650, and then one of the kits is for you. We'll show you how to use it. You'll do the kit. It's all done at home. It's a urine sample. We won't help you with that. And it's a blood sample. It's a finger prick, like a little diabetic, and then it drips on the, okay? And then you send that in. They analyze it, send us the results with your LRQ, and then we're going to sit down and put a plan together for you.